Remove all the language from neuropsychology, psychology, and psi. All of the parts involving limits and control and restrictions and dominance. And all a human has remaining has to do with the word they can't even use, behavior. Staring at another human, listening to another human, and unfortunately at the University of Washington, disrupting another human, bothering another human, and indoctrinating humans in silence. Remove all the language and a human makes a sound. A sound. And all a psychiatrist can do has to do with observing and watching and listening and noticing and keeping track of what another human does in outer space. Until the human who they're keeping track of in silence on an object in outer space says no more, no more, go away, leave me alone. The neuropsychiatrist and the computational psychiatrist are baffled afterwards. Why can't they keep working on their human and fixing the behavior they can't say as a word aloud because the sentence and the language are illegal and now this person is making them fucking insane. And they can't solve what they're visually recognizing and hearing with their ears about what they know has to do with what they're doing with their hand right now and how bad their hand has to do with climate change and all of the problems with needing an abortion. And no gender. No language. Nothing other than sound. And what can't be described as a word in a language, behavior. So what the fuck do you want with me then? In other words, I don't get it. I'm sitting meditating. Why are you talking to me in silence? Why are you disrupting me in silence? And why are you bothering me? Other than a person who makes a decision and chooses to bother another human for their economics and their house they live in with their family and children, making money from another human who they cause so much emotion, who they cause so much disruption, eventually the human has to say to them, you're a bully. But they wear a white coat and they do experiments, and they're doctors. And nobody can tell them not to use language. They probably describe as a mystery. The University of Washington uses lots of language in the bathrooms, written on the stalls with profanity and vulgar, disgusting nastiness. They never take off the walls, probably to teach their subjects, their objects, about intelligence. Psychology, and psychiatry, and neuropsychology and neuropsychiatry, and all the other parts of the brain, medicine and health system, mental health, have no practice with no words to keep their humans controlled, not so different than the monkeys they dissect in their labs across campus, and the rats they watch run around in circles until they can't solve their pattern and they can't escape their maze until they die. To provide those researchers the information they need for more language and more sentences and more sounds involving words and letters and dialect and linguistics. Meanwhile, they serve cheeseburgers and fettuccine alfredo and ice cream to students, confused why they can't poop and take a dump. After language has been removed, all a person, a human, has to work with involving their intellectual genius has to do with what will kill them and cause them death should they ever bother their subject again in silence. China keeps track of behavior so well that Tibetans self-immolated and set them on fire. Them, their body and brain. For all of those communists and socialists and dominant humans to notice. They just made a human die, staring at the human until the human had no other option other than death to escape their dominance. For no other reason explained other than what they need to do to be appropriately accepted in the social network of the world involving the system and processes of the stimulation and stimuli for a reward, doing what the dominant human decides needs to be done. And not a human on earth has paused to notice. They are so addicted to language and these subjects I'm describing and talking about called health and medicine, mental health, they no longer can explain what they're doing otherwise unless they have dominance. My sound's disrupting the world. Okay, I will sit in silence until I die. Leave me alone. Those humans come back and they say, I'm sorry, but you're sitting in silence. They're dead. Bleeding, begging, and suffering. In their freedom. However, my freedom in silence does not have the problems of these voices and these whispers I hear every morning at the University of Washington. Every afternoon. Every day, sitting in silence, breathing in a low hum.